right, everybody, welcome back to another deep dive.
Yeah.
And today we are going to be diving into something
Exciting.
very exciting, something that I think we've both been looking forward to
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
for a while.
Yeah, we've been getting a lot of questions about
The
it.
Predator franchise.
Predator.
The future of the Predator franchise.
Exactly.
And luckily for us, this new article has just come out. It's called The Future of the Predator Universe. A wild ride awaits.
A wild ride. So,
I know.
that sounds promising.
It does, right?
Yeah.
A wild ride.
A wild ride through the Predator universe. Sign me up.
Sign me up. So let's jump into this thing. I think one of the most immediate things that jumped out to me is that we've got a new Predator movie coming out.
Yeah.
Pretty soon, relatively soon.
Yeah, 2025, so just around the corner.
Yeah, November 7, 2025.
Yep.
Predator Badlands.
I like it.
So, I mean, just the title alone
Yeah.
gets me kind of excited.
Oh, yeah.
But there's more.
There's more.
Dan Trachtenberg
Yeah.
is back in the director's chair.
All right, so for those who maybe haven't seen Prey, I think we need to talk about Dan Trachtenberg a little bit.
Yeah, for sure.
Because, I mean, Prey was such a breath of fresh air for the franchise. I mean, I think we both really enjoyed it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was just so well made, so much
Yeah.
fun to watch. And it really kind of brought back that sense of, like, primal fear and tension that I think the original Predator had. You know,
Right,
like
yeah.
you felt like you were actually out there in the wilderness being stalked by this, this terrifying creature. And I think Trachtenberg is just so good at crafting that kind of suspense and atmosphere.
Yeah, and I think he, with Prey, I think what he did so well was he took us back to, like, this sort of like almost historical
Yeah,
setting.
a period piece almost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A period piece Predator movie, and it was so effective because it kind of stripped away all the, the high-tech gadgets and the modern military stuff, and it just kind of brought it back to the basics of, like,
Hunter versus hunted.
Splinter versus hunted. Exactly. And that's what's so scary about the Predator, right? Is like this ultimate hunter. And so to see that play out in a setting like that was just
Yeah.
so cool. So,
Yeah. I'm very excited to see what he's going to do with Badlands.
me too.
Especially with
Predator.
this cast he's got.
Yes. Yes, I was going to say, like, to add to that, we also have Elle Fanning,
Elle Fanning.
starring in Predator, Badlands.
What?
I know.
Oh, it's a wild card.
Talk about a wild ride.
It's a wild ride.
This is the wild ride.
Yeah, I did not see that coming.
I mean, I'm so intrigued by this choice because, I think of Elle Fanning.
Yeah.
I think of, like, The Great.
Right, or like the Neon
Some
Demon.
period pieces, beautiful.
Yeah, very kind of like
Ethereal roles.
ethereal role. Yeah, not exactly like action hero material, at first glance.
Right. But I think that's what makes it so exciting, right?
Right.
It's like she's not your typical, action heroine.
Yeah.
So what is she going to bring to this role? How is she going to, face off against a predator?
Right. Is it going to be like more of like a psychological thriller kind of vibe? Is she going to be using her wits to outsmart the predator?
Yeah. Is she going to be like, maybe playing a character who's not even like a fighter, but is like a scientist or something? Is
I
like
that.
using their knowledge to kind of like trap the predator or something.
So I like that. Yeah, like a completely different approach
Yeah.
to taking on the predator.
So I'm so curious to see how this plays out.
Yeah, me too.
But let's move on to another big thing that was in this article, and that is the potential return of Alien versus Predator.
Oh man.
I know, right?
Here we go.
This is a big one.
This is a big one. This is like the matchup that everybody's been waiting for or dreading, depending on who you ask.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, the previous Alien versus Predator movies, they, I wouldn't say they were like the most well-received.
They weren't great.
Yeah, they were fun.
They were fun.
In a kind of cheesy way.
Yeah.
But they weren't like, masterpieces of cinema.
They weren't going to win any Oscars.
No.
But there is some interesting stuff in here about like what their approach might be this time.
I mean, it sounds like they're really trying to learn from the mistakes of the past.
Yeah.
I mean, Steve Asbell, who's the head of 20th Century Studios, he was talking about, wanting to make sure that the crossover feels organic.
Right.
That it's not just like, throwing these two creatures together in a room and seeing what happens.
Right.
But that it actually like makes sense within the context of their respective universes.
Yeah.
And that it kind of deepens the mythology of both franchises.
And he also talks about like intertwining the characters in new ways. So it's not just about the monsters,
It's about like how do these these human characters kind of get caught in the crossfire, and how do their stories kind of like intersect with the larger alien and predator mythologies.
Right, and I think that's key, right? Because, I mean, at the end of the day, we care about these franchises because of the characters, We connect with Ripley, we connect with Dutch.
All right.
And so if they can create new characters that are just as compelling and that really kind of draw us into this world, I think that's what's going to make or break this crossover.
Yeah, totally. And I think it's interesting, too, because, both of these franchises, they kind of deal with, like, corporate greed and like the dangers of technology and like the kind of like the dark side of humanity in a way.
Absolutely.
So there's a lot of potential there to kind of like explore those themes in a really interesting way through this crossover.
Yeah, and I think there's also potential to kind of like expand the scope of the universe, maybe we see like different planets, different civilizations that have been affected by these creatures, right?
Maybe we learn more about like the ancient history of the predators and the xenomorphs, like where they came from, what their motivations are.
Maybe there's like some kind of like ancient war that's been raging between these two species for centuries.
Ooh, I like that.
And we're just
catching the tail end of it.
Yeah, we're just like caught in the middle.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot of really cool potential there.
A lot of potential.
But speaking of potential, let's talk about this animated Predator film.
Oh yeah,
that they're thinking about doing.
The animated one, yeah. This is interesting.
This is a curveball.
This is a curveball. I was not expecting this one.
Yeah,
but I'm intrigued.
I mean, I think it makes sense in a way, right?
Yeah.
Like, when you think about like, the kind of the visual spectacle of the predator.
Oh yeah.
The cloaking, the
gore.
Weapons. The gore, it lends itself really well to animation.
Yeah, you could do so much more with it in animation that you couldn't do in live action. Absolutely. And I think, we've seen with like, movies like the new Planet of the Apes trilogy, like how good CG characters can look.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But at digital, they're masters of that stuff.
They're masters. And I think, they could really bring that same level of detail and realism to the Predator.
Yeah, and I think the animation also allows them to explore different aspects of the Predator universe,
Right.
Like maybe we get a story that's told from the Predator's point of view.
Well, that'd be cool.
Yeah, like we see their culture, their rituals, their hunting techniques.
Their code of honor.
Yeah, their code of honor, like all that stuff that we've only gotten glimpses of in the live action movies. We could really dive deep into it in an animated film.
Yeah, and you could play with different time periods too.
Yeah.
Like you could do like a prequel story about like the origins of the predators, or you could do like a far future story about like what happens after,
after humans are gone.
After humans are gone. Yeah, exactly.
And the predators are like ruling the galaxy.
Or like fighting some other alien race or something.
Right.
So yeah, there's a lot of potential there too.
A lot of potential.
But I think, it's important to kind of like acknowledge that reviving a franchise like Predator.
Yeah.
It's not easy.
No, it's not.
Like, it's a franchise that's had its ups and downs.
Definitely some ups and downs.
There's been some great movies. There's been some not so great movies.
There's been some real stinkers.
Yeah. And so I think it's going to be really interesting to see how they kind of like navigate that.
Yeah.
Yeah. How do they please the fans who've been there since the beginning?
Yeah.
But also, how do they bring in new audiences and kind of like introduce this world to a new generation?
Right. And I think the key is going to be finding that balance,
Yeah.
between respecting the legacy of the franchise and also being willing to take some risks and try new things.
Yeah. And I think, Trachtenberg has shown with Prey that he's capable of doing that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's got the vision. He's got the talent.
He's got the vision.
Yeah.
So I'm cautiously optimistic.
I'm with you.
About the future of the franchise.
I'm cautiously optimistic as well.
But I think it's going to be a wild ride.
It's going to be a wild ride.
That's for sure.
That's for sure.
So what do you think? Like, what are you most excited about?
Oh, man. That's a tough one.
Yeah.
I think I'm most excited about the potential of the Alien versus Predator crossover.
Yeah.
I think if they do it right, it could be something really special.
Yeah, I think it could be like a huge event.
Yeah, like a cinematic event.
A cinematic event.
Yeah.
But I'm also really intrigued by the animated film.
Yeah.
Like, I think that could be something really unique and different.
Yeah, and unexpected.
Yeah.
Like, I think it could really surprise people.
Yeah, and I think Badlands is kind of like the most immediate thing that we have to look forward to.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to see what Tractenberg does with Elle Fanning in that.
Yeah. That's going to be a wild card for sure.
That's going to be the wild ride.
That's the wild ride.
But I think that's all the time we have for today.
All right.
But we want to hear from you. What do you think about the future of the Predator franchise? What are you most excited about? What kind of stories do you want to see?
Hit us up in the comments. Let us know.
Yeah, let us know. And we'll see you next time for another deep dive.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.